on FX. And can you hear the construction in the background when I'm talking to you?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah,
So it's going to be a little nuts, but we got to make do. So for those who are listening, I have construction going on in my house.
that's what you were saying.
You'll hear it on our YouTube show as well as
Okay.
every single audio channel. Every show we do for the next 4 or 5 months because our show is spread out. So my apologies. My house flooded a lot too long ago, so we're just doing renovations at my place.
Okay.
Welcome everyone to the Pantheon. I'm Ray,
Mhm. I'm Evy.
and what are we looking at today?
Invincible.
Yep.
Yeah, yeah. Invincible. It's about a family, um, a family which has like good people, and there's a whole bunch of superheroes that don't, that just focus on evil and beating people up and wanting like to take people over and eventually get rid of them because they're not good superheroes. And yeah, it's interesting. Um, and yeah, they just want to survive.
Mhm.
Um, yeah, that's all I
Okay.
have to say
Okay.
right
Well,
now.
fair enough. Let's start off by saying there's a lot of big name actors on this show. That could be
Yeah.
a draw or it could be a bonus because as you're watching it, some of the voices may sound familiar to you. Like you have a character
Hmm.
named Robot. Zachary Quinto, who plays Spock in the Star Trek
Hmm.
movies, is Robot. We have Stephen Lung from like that was it Walking Dead. You have Sandra Oh as his mother. You have
Yeah.
J.K. Simmons, whose voice is iconic
Hmm.
as his father, as playing uh, what's his character's name? Omni Man.
Hmm.
You have Jason Mantzoukas, if you know who he is. He's a great ad lib actor or comedian.
Hmm.
Uh, there's a ton of voice actors, or there's voices that sound familiar to you that you may not pick up on, like uh, oh oh Walter Goggins. Like there's
Okay.
a lot of act. Look, if you see the faces, and then once you see the face of the actor, then you hear the voices, you're like, yes, that's definitely that actor. Like
Yeah.
that's who it is.
Cool.
But okay, so let's get into some of this stuff here. So, so the two things that we learned from this series, from this part of the series, we learned about the robot. We know about like what's really going on with the robot's character because um, he comes across more human or having more emotional than human traits than normal for a robot. We learn what that is now as the show progresses on the last half of it. We are reviewing now the last half of the show.
Hmm.
Uh,
Yeah.
Also, we learn about like what it is that set this father off because father went like completely like Jonestown on the other
Yeah.
heroes, and we learn what is really going on. So this that reveal, and we learn about the robots, so which is really nice. Uh, and in that, it's about Grayson. It's about a young teenage boy, how he's going through a relationship, balancing life as a superhero slash teenager slash like all these things. So and then kind of like Spider-Man, like he kind of like misses classes because he's saving the world. So he's punctuality, he's missing dates. So all the stuff like like a Peter Parker type of thing was going through, like he saw in
Yeah.
Homecoming. He was going through those ebbs and flows of what a hero's having a secret identity is about. So there's a lot of stuff that's based on like things that we would expect as a just fodder for like a superhero show. Did,
Hmm.
did that stuff appeal to you any way, or do you just like was it just because of the violence that kind of like irked you the
Like
wrong
it,
way?
like it was okay.
Hmm.
Yeah, there's still cursing and stuff.
Hmm.
But yeah, it kind of reminds me of 90210.
Yeah. Right.
You know, remember what that is?
90210.
90210. Yeah.
Yeah, a little bit.
Okay. Yeah, kind of reminds me of that show. That's all.
Mhm. Uh,
Yeah.
I, I found the second half more cerebral. I found all the characters were at this point were like, I think in the first half they were very like edgy, ready to fight and everything like that. Here they're more battle worry.
Yeah.
They're more subdued. It's more like, okay, we've experienced the intensity of it. Now we learn from our mistakes. We're not going to go like so hard, into
Right. Yeah.
everything. So this became a more of like a subdued series. This became more intellectual, in my opinion, in terms of like where are we going now with the series? Like what are we doing in this series? And
Okay.
so like the show pivots as soon as we get to this like episode 5. It completely switches gears from being alien invasions to bloodshed to the massive swearing. There is less swearing now. I think that's more about communication, and I think it's more about
Oh, okay.
knowing the motivations of characters. Knowing the motivation of Robot, knowing the motivation of Omni Man. What's going on with the corporation with Walter Goggins' character. I forgot the guy who was behind the scenes. Like he's like the Men in Black. Like so.
Yeah.
So you have all of those little, even the twin like clone like villains.
Mhm.
They're not so violent. They're now being more cerebral. So
Right. Okay.
this was something. It was this was more less sensationalized, just more thought in going into this one.
Okay.
What did so for season 2? What do you think? Would you expect to be seeing in season 2, based
Um,
on this movie, based on
yeah,
the series, sir?
Actually, like a battle.
Uh,
There's going to be a fight,
mhm.
so it's going to be, stuff's going to happen, and it looks interesting. So yeah, I'd want to look at it and just see what happens. Like I want to see what happens. You know, yeah. So
Yeah, it's like a battle of the planets. I think that's what it leads into.
yeah,
Obviously, people who are above 17, I mean, that's a given, because because of the violence is not for kids, right? And they make
right.
that clear. But like, what kind of audience do you think would be the right audience for this? Like college student, like, well, I don't know, like what do you think?
Um, After 17,
Mhm.
uh, you know, somebody who likes cartoons and yeah, something, it's like, yeah, stuff's gonna happen. I can't wait for it. Somebody who likes stuff like that. That's all. Yeah, I'm looking forward to it.
Like I just like some of the themes. Like there's a scene where he's helping like a lower end like villain who's like turns into a rock, and he helps them like get rid of a local crime boss, right? And as a result, there's a power vacuum. Like once you get rid of the one top guy, there's always somebody who wants a top spot, So there's a subset of stories in here that's not necessarily like the big rock'em sock'em thing. There's kind of some
Mhm.
smaller stories. Was there a scene that stood out for you in this series that in any capacity?
Um, yeah, kind of like
I'm not talking
like
like in a positive way. Like that's a positive.
yeah, it's like the um yeah, stood out for me. Omni's wife, actually, I thought that she was fighting her family, right? Because she goes, I'm gonna help them and blah blah blah, and um and then it kind of seems like she's on the bad side now, on the father's way.
Mhm.
But then it turns out that she's on the bad guys.
Hmm.
Anyways, that was so yeah, that's kind of my fault. First she's doing good, and later on, she wants to be on the side of evil.
Okay.
Yeah,
Uh,
sorry.
okay. The character who I find fascinating and who's not in the second half is the demon character, right?
Okay.
If you watch the show like Watchmen, he's like the Shack of the show, who's like the conspiracy theorist who, the Columbo. He kind of knows what's really going, or suspects what's going on, and he's putting in the seeds of doubt or suspicion, and
Hmm.
he's kind of like the guy in light of the truth,
Hmm.
like Spotlight.
Yeah.
He's putting a shine on what really happened.
Okay.
So he's kind of a mix of DC's Deadman slash Hellboy,
Yeah.
So that's kind of, and his spirit or his influence to the show is felt throughout the show, and especially with the mother. I think because she kind of carries the torch. Now, what you were saying about her being evil or a negative impulse,
Yeah.
I don't find so. Like that's my opinion, but I do think she does. Like in the end, you do question her motives because she kind of like loves her husband and stands by him,
Hmm.
but yet she knows something's not right. And I don't want to say a word. I don't want to give it too much away, but like, it'd be interesting to see how she is in season 2 and what happens with her character. After the fact. Especially between the husband and her, between the son and her, and then with the world at large.
Hmm.
That'd be interesting. Anyways, enough about that. Overall, I would strongly recommend this show for those who like action films. It's a really good visual cartoon. Yes, it's graphically violent. If you like graphically violent stuff, that's in it. It's self-aware that it's graphically violent and it makes fun of it. It's the humor is kind of rude and crude, but if you're into that, it's not that bad. It's a recommend. But on that note, I know we agree to disagree, but on that note, I am Ray.
I'm Evy.
We'll talk to you next week. Take care.